Tracy.
And today we have an exciting guest with us, Paul Cram.
Hello, everybody.
Paul,
yes.
welcome.
Thank you. I am really happy to be chatting with both of you.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you on. I have actually known who you were for a long time. I knew you, and you probably have no idea who I am, but I've known you through Cynthia. You were in a film of hers a long time ago.
Yeah, Cynthia Urich. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you were in a film with hers with Sheena. And I had a little role in that, and so I've known who you are as an actor for quite a while. So it's really exciting having you on the podcast now and actually getting to really meet you and get to know you.
Oh, that's awesome.
This is going to be awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, Paul, it's been quite a year, I'm sure, as an actor for you.
Yes, it has. I mean, myself and the entire world, but yeah, as an actor, it's been very interesting.
Yeah. For me, I've been dining in a lot, so I've had maybe a lot of sauce packets so I don't have to buy condiments ever again. A lot of plasticware, so if I ever am traveling, I have a whole box full of plasticware that's just why does this? I don't need this,
That is fantastic. That is fantastic. Mine is slightly the inverse. I mean, I think, yes, I have probably a lot more plasticware than I have ever had before from takeout, but I don't have styrofoam, not totally styrofoam, whatever the cups are they give you from Starbucks and Caribou. I miss going, because pre-2020, I would go and sit at a coffee shop a ton, to work on lines or just to, hang out and be working on my laptop. And, that just really wasn't a thing in 2020. So I don't have all of those cups, but I do notice I have a lot more sporks.
Nice. I love that, actually. Sporks. Paul, question for you before we dive into really everything film world wise, and this is something that we touch on with all of our guests because we just want to know you just on a different level a little bit too. As we kick off, can you tell us a special, random, interesting talent that you have that others may or may not know about?
I absolutely can. The thing that jumps to mind, and I'm trying to think if this is a talent or if it's just a knowledge thing that I don't know. Mine is, I don't know if it's necessarily a talent, but it's sort of like a junior high science fair thing. But okay. I know how to make a batch of soap, literally bars of soap. I can make them from olive oil. And
wow.
Tyler Durden?
Yeah.
Soap,
yes, 100%. Yes, Fight Club. Yes, I don't use human fat, but I do use olive oil fat. And yeah, I know how to do that. And I know how to do it really well. It won't burn your skin off, which is the fear because when you use lye, which, yeah, again, fun random fact, lye can eat through aluminum.
Whoa.
Yep. Yes. Oof. So it's just I don't know. I don't know if that, again, like I said, I don't know if that's a talent or if it's just.
I'm going to say that it is.
Okay, let's say it's a talent.
Because I'm sure it takes a lot of time and effort to really build that skill. So I'm going to say, yes, it is a talent.
Thank you.
Yeah. And especially a year ago, did you do that when there was no soap and everything?
This is actually something that I learned pre the 2020 pandemic. But yeah, if we ever had run out of soap, I would have been well, I just need any kind of fat and we're good.
Yeah.
Nice.
You could have totally sold that,
Brilliant.
The Paul Cram, liquid soap thing,
Yeah, yep.
People were paying a premium for that a year ago. So.
They were paying a pretty premium. Yes. That was 2020. I mean, it's not unique to an actor. Obviously, it was everybody in the whole entire world experienced that. But, as an actor, just, so many things really, especially here, like in the Twin Cities, just came to a pause, and it's really nice because, like right now, I'm starting to see more projects and more auditions opening up and things, and it's exciting. I'm actually working on a project here in May in Duluth, film, so it's cool.
Oh wow,
that's exciting.
It makes me happy, yeah, because the past year we've all been kind of just, what's going to happen next,
Yeah.
We'll get to for the moment.
We'll get to that here in our questions. We'll dig a little deeper into what's this Duluth project. But first, Paul, let's go back a little, or maybe a lot. What got you started in acting? Like, what was it for you?
Oh, like most artists, I wanted my parents' approval and financial stability, so I chose a life in the arts and a way to keep up with my lawyer brother. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Exactly.
I'm sure they loved that when you brought that up.
I jest slightly there. There is some truth to it. I mean, I think I've always loved the arts. I've always loved, my parents really did foster like an appreciation for art and for performing and for creating, specifically with me and my siblings. And I mean, good grief, I remember when I was around 4 years old being up on stage at church, and like, it was really fun to do that, obviously at that age, but also like just, I'm thinking back and like, I remember my mom saying over and over, she was like, you guys are not going to have stage fright. You are going to be able to go up in front of an audience and just like command it. And, that was, I think, her kind of thing in her head of really pushing me and my siblings to, participate in live theater. And from there, it kind of grew for me. Like, none of my other siblings are necessarily actors. But for myself, I distinctly remember going up to my mom when I was like around, 15, 16. And I was like, I want to be an actor. And, to her credit, she actually didn't, she wasn't like, well, do you have a backup plan? She actually was like, that's great.
That's nice, dear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's great, dear. But Paul, were you the youngest of your siblings? Or?
I am not the youngest. I am a middle child.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Are you guys youngest at all?
I am.
Oh, you are?
Oldest.
Okay.
Oh, really, Rohana? I didn't know that. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's... okay.
Does it all make... It all makes sense, yeah. I'm fascinated by some of that stuff, like...
Yeah.
So, Paul, did you, like, go to school for acting and everything as well, or did you just go, like, really dive in once, high school is out and... you graduated and this is what you wanted to do, and so you just sort of dove into the community itself?
That's a really good...
I'm jumping around
that's a really
questions,
great... I appreciate it. It's a really good question, and it's one that I kind of like where you took it, because it's just a little twist on what I get asked a fair amount. But I have not gone to, like, after high school, I have not gone on to... get a degree in theater or performing. That said, my education, like, that was one of the questions my mom asked me. She's like, okay, cool. You want to be an actor? Awesome. How are you going to do it? How are you going to achieve this? And I went to the library. I went to the library. I got every single stinking book I could find on anything that has to do with acting, and I checked them out and started reading and studying. And right before I graduated, actually, I think a year before I graduated, I took on an internship at, this would have been in the Twin Cities. There was a casting director's office called Ackerland and Associates Casting. And I interned there for 3 months, no pay. You know how internships go. And after that, they hired me. They hired me on to be a casting assistant. And I worked, so I actually had a job before I graduated high school. And it paid really well. So I was like, this is amazing. And it was really good for me. You know, it would be good for anybody. If anybody's listening, you know, if you're interested, getting your feet wet by watching other actors perform and watching directors and casting directors, it was a really good training ground in a way for me to just learn the ropes and see how things work. Yeah. So that would, like, in addition to that, I really want people to know, like, I have also done a ton of like one-on-one training with, you know, I've actually worked with the Guthrie at the Guthrie. I've done training at the Guthrie. I've done, you know, I don't want people to think like, oh, Paul did this with nothing. It's like,
Yeah.
He had no
Still
master
takes-
class.
exactly.
Yeah, definitely still takes, you know, working at the craft and trying to hone your skills and all of that, even if it's not necessarily like university
Exactly. Yeah.
classes. Yeah, absolutely.
And specific to film too, I'll just toss this in there as well. Like, a lot of people in town do know this, but I have worked on, you know, over the span of you know, from that high school age to now, I have always been participating in like student films and like low budget projects. And I mean, like a couple of the film teachers here in town, they laugh because they're like, Paul, you've been in over 100, like literally like over 100 like student films and projects. And like, yeah, the number of hours just in that of honing the craft has been really beneficial for me.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. So then moving from getting that job and gaining that experience on that side of it, what was then your first actual film role, and when did that happen?
I'm going to answer this, but I want to back up even just like a little bit before that. I'll answer it. The first film role that I actually like, my big, like, at least it's the one that stands out in my head, was filmed in Hollywood. And the name of the film, the name of the film is called Intermedio, and that was in 2005. And it, you know, it's a horror movie. It's kitschy. It's fun. It's, you know, it was done by the production company that did Sharknado, like all those. And I was working with Amber Benson, who was from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and and Edward Furlong, who was the kid from Terminator. So they were like the stars in it, and I, you know, had the opportunity to read for it, and you know, they flew me out there, and I did my part, and that would be like the standout thing in my head. Before that, I had done a lot of like smaller projects here in town, but that's the one that was like my. It's hard to say it's a breakout role. It's not, because like nobody's heard of Intermedio, but for me it was a really huge deal. But what I wanted to share like right before that is there was a casting director, and she has since passed, but her name was Mally Finn, and I want to give a shout out to her and just mention, because like previous to Intermedio and stuff, like my focus was here solely in the Twin Cities, which again, I'm not knocking it. I love it. And I still, you know, this is my home base and I live here and it's awesome. But Mally Finn was doing casting. She cast, people may have heard of some of these movies. She was the casting director for LA Confidential. She was the casting director for the Matrix trilogy. She was the casting director for the Titanic, maybe a movie you've heard of.
Wow.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah,
no.
we've never heard of it. But my headshot ended up on her desk, and she called me, and she was like, "Hey, this is Mally Finn. Do you know who I am?" And I was like, I about fell over. I was like, yeah, I know who you are." and she's like, you know, I have some connections to Minnesota, and if you're ever here in Hollywood, I'd love to just chat with you. But she's like, before that happens, there's a movie. And would you mind putting yourself on tape? And I would love to like see what you got. And it was so interesting to me because it did this amazing cool thing to my brain where I was just like, wait a minute, wait, you're Mally Finn. You just cast like the Titanic, you know, all these things. And she was having me read for movies with Drew Barrymore and Charlize Theron and all these things, and I'm
Wow.
like this no-name guy, you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
I actually did wind up, I was like, you know what, I'm going to take her up on this. There was a family trip that happened, and I was in Hollywood, found myself in Hollywood, and I sat down with her and we just talked for a while, and some of the advice and things that she shared with me I'm still doing today. And I just wanted to mention that because I really think that it was a turning point for myself in my career.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, care to share what you're still doing today that maybe she advised you on, or is that confidential?
No, it's not.
too?
It's not totally confidential. Some of it was some of it was inspirational, and some of it, like, I use it as a bit of a. It's that internal Zen type guide. Like, she when I sat down with her, she looked at me and she's like Paul. She's like, you are weird and you're quirky and you're a character, and she's like, there's not going to be a ton of roles for you, but when you are reading, you're only going to be up against a handful of people. But she's like, you're not beautiful, you're not like these. And I know what she means by that. Like, she's not talking about like the content of my character or my heart. She's literally talking about the quote unquote skin bag I walk around, you know what I mean? Like, she's talking very physical. And she's like, look around in Hollywood and tell me if you see people that look like you. And I was like, no, I don't. And she's like, that will be one of your biggest assets that you have as a performer. In addition to, you have to be able to act. So,
Right. That's huge. Like, because I feel like as an actor, like so many times when you don't get something because you're comparing yourself in every aspect to everyone that you're auditioning against, but having her say, this is really good for you. Like, use this.
yes. Yes.
That's huge. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's and especially for me, that's what I mean. Like, it's something where I lean into it, and it's like, I'm gonna chuckle because there's a director, Giovanni Fumu, who I'm working with next month in Duluth, and I know we can dive into that a little bit more. But during one of the callbacks, he started chuckling, and he was like, Paul, he's like, please don't be offended as I say this, and he proceeded to comment on how I look, and I just smiled because, again, in the back of my head, I just, again, it's like Mally. She's like, this is a strength. This will help you. So, like, when people come at me with stuff where it's like, this is not a compliment, I'm like, actually, it is. To me, it is. Like, bring it on. Let's do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Huge compliment.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
Wow. Well, I guess
and
this is kind of like a hard right question coming up. So go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, an intermedia was fun. It was an interesting learning experience to work on like a fun, zany horror movie with someone like Edward Furlong and Amber Benson, and I was completely starstruck by Amber Benson, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're real, and I don't know, it's fun. It's been a fun ride.
Well,
Absolutely.
even like in those, I guess, as your first film, and it being on such a more, I guess, I wouldn't put them quite in the indie, but not quite studio either. For like Sharknado, I guess they are kind of still indie, like upper indie.
This definitely would have fallen into that category, and I think that was something too. Like when that specific film was like, when we were shooting that and everything, I hadn't really totally grasped the concept of like what some of all of that even means. What you just said, where it's just like, oh my gosh, there's indie film, there's short film, there's feature. There, I really, because so many of my friends and everything, it was they're just like, oh well, when am I going to see it? On the silver screen, big screen, and if it does not achieve that, then you haven't made it. Kind of a thing. So it was one of the first films that could potentially have reached out beyond some of that, but it didn't. And that's a learning experience even for me as an actor. Like, I had spent so much time on the ins and outs of like, how do I get cast, that I kind of sort of the love of filmmaking was getting a little lost, which I'm trying to balance out, more so now. I think being a little bit more mature too.
Right. And I suppose my question as I go into this next one, like in all from your first film role to even now, like what roles in filmmaking are most intriguing to you, and why?
I would have to say, if I had to like grade them, for me right now, the editor.
Really?
Yeah. Interesting.
Yep. And as the actor, and as even watching the director and stuff, who has so much providing, the actors provide shape to the role, but the director really has a lot of say and control over that too. But it's really the editor to me that is kind of that wonderful, because there's so much that one can do in the editing process to alter and change and adjust and amp up. There's a specific film. There was a short film here that we shot as part of the 48-hour film project years ago, and I just remember watching it, and we won. They won. Oh gosh, I think the director's name was. Oh gosh, I'm gonna kill this because I'm blanking on some of the details, but I want to say it was Josh Thacker. Please forgive me if I'm saying the wrong one. Anybody that's listening, but it was like this cool little short spy kind of thing, and there was a car that blew up, and like all this crazy stuff happened, and it was cool to do in the 48-hour film project. But I just remember watching it, and the editor, I was like, wow, like he took my performance and made it like, I don't know, people were walking up to me like, that was amazing. And I was like, it was amazing, and it also was because the editor helped me. Like, yeah.
Have you, this is like a sub question from the question that Alan just asked. So in being that, like, really intrigued and interested in the editing, process and what they are able to do, is that something you've ever thought you would like to really try on your own, or are there other roles within filmmaking that you think about that?
I think in the future, yes. Right at the moment, it's not something that I'm not really focusing a lot of my energies in that direction. But yeah, I would love to at some point. I would love to direct, and I think editing sounds like it would be a really intriguing thing. I can't say that I have that skill set. So it would be something I would have to play around with and see.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Can you tell us who and this is, I think it's a hard question, but maybe it's super easy for you. Who's your favorite actor and actress?
Oh, well, it is a hard question just to pick one. I'll just tell you, Yep. Is it all right if I tell you a couple?
Of course.
Kathy Bates is just one of my all-time favorites. And Caitlin Olsen, I don't know if you know, her name maybe isn't as familiar. Do you know who she is, Alan?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For anyone listening that doesn't know who that is, she's on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Her physical comedy, to me, I watch her and I'm like, yep, I love you. It's gold. It's just, it's wonderful. So, those would be two. Can I tell you two that I have huge crushes on?
Of course.
Andrew Scott, who is Irish, and he was in Sherlock and Fleabag, and I think he's doing something now with HBO. And then also Catherine Frott. She's a French actress. And she's, I don't know, I can't say anything too much about that hasn't already been said about like a beautiful French woman actress who just has she's very French, but huge crushes on both of them. Can I ask the question back? I'm really curious. Do you guys know the answers to this?
I have very long lists.
Love it.
So, for actresses, I gotta go with like classical, like Audrey Hepburn, Natalie Portman,
nice.
Meryl Streep. Just stay with the classics there. And for actors, that's where my really long list is, because my favorites kind of meld with my crushes that you just had. So they kind of meld together.
Yes.
So you've got John Krasinski, Chris Evans, JGL, I think is brilliant. I just loved Chadwick Boseman's acting. Oh my God, loved him.
Me too.
Yeah,
me too. He was great. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Alan, how about you?
Wow. There are a lot. Yeah. Edward Norton comes to mind. I'd say actresses. I've been a fan of like Michelle Rodriguez or Rachel Weisz. So.
Oh, good grief! I have to add Rachel Weisz to my list of people who I'm just like enamored with. Yes.
Yeah.
She's incredible.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's just a few.
That in itself could be an entire podcast episode.
Yeah, because like those two actors came together in one film, but they never really shared a scene in The Bourne. I think, what was that? The one that wasn't with Matt Damon, the other Bourne.
The one with Jeremy Renner?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Legacy or something, I think. And it was just kind of like, they're both in this film, but they didn't have a scene together.
They didn't work together.
I was like, what are you doing?
Oh, that's funny.
Why would you do this? Or maybe they had a scene over the phone, supposedly, but it's just like that's not the same.
Nope.
They're just acting against nothing. So
it makes me. It brings to mind. Have you guys ever seen or heard of the movie that filmed here called Wilson with Woody Harrelson?
Yeah, Paul, you were in that, weren't you?
I was. Yes, absolutely. And it stars Woody Harrelson and Laura Dern, so they're obviously in scenes together. But I was on set, and my small scene was with Woody. Woody, he and I were working together, and for whatever reason, like in my head and in my brain and in the world that is inside Paul Cram's head, it never ever occurred to me that I would possibly run into anybody other than Woody Harrelson. It's like, oh, okay, I'm prepped for this. Great, cool, ready to go.
Yeah.
And I, walk out of my trailer and I walk around the corner and I almost run into Laura Dern.
Oh my gosh.
And she just is like, hi. And I did that. I did that thing that like every actor's nightmare. Like I literally started because this doesn't happen to me. Like I'm like, oh, Woody Harrelson, whatever. Like, great, nice to meet you. Or Cillian Murphy, Susan Sarandon. I've worked with some really amazing performers, but for some reason, Laura Dern is like, I looked at her and I started like I couldn't talk. Like I was like, and she looked at me, and I was like, you're Laura Dern.
I love that.
And
yeah,
I don't exactly even know why she was on set that day, because she didn't shoot anything. Like you know what I mean? It was like she was just, I don't know if she was just popping in or what, but it just was that thing where it's like, yeah, okay, these Paul Cram and Laura Dern should never have like bumped into each other because they don't have scenes together. It just was, yeah.
What an incredible moment though! Now that like you have like this little experience.
Yeah,
because I love her.
I love her too. She's fun.
Love her.
That's funny. Yeah, I had an experience like that on the set of Ray Donovan with both Liev Schreiber and Eddie Marsan.
Oh my goodness!
It was like, each time I was just kind of like hanging out, like waiting to go do my job, but then it was like they just come walking by like, hey, what's going on? And they're really nice people, so it's just like, oh yeah, hey.
Were you able to say words back that were coherent?
Yeah, I mean I didn't, it was a passing hello, that was pretty much it. So
that is what I wish I would have been able to do.
Yeah, please read my script.
Yes. Yes.
I feel like anytime I meet somebody that I'm that like enamored with, I'm just going to beg them to be my best friend. And it's going to be super embarrassing, but that's the only thing that I'll be able to say. Just like, please, let's just be best friends. That's all that I ask. Just put my number in your phone.
Yeah, I'll do that. Just go with this man. Yeah, I know his shirt says security, but it's okay.
Exactly. Like, everything's going to be fine.
That's great.
Well, I suppose, coming off of that a little bit, what's your, I guess, favorite thing about the acting process and why, other than running into Laura Dern? So.
Oh my gosh. For me, my favorite piece of it's really the psychology of it all. I mean, not the psychology of the writing. Like I don't think that I would enjoy acting if it wasn't for the storytelling aspect of it, and to kind of explain that to people. It's like I love storytelling, but the process the piece of that I just adore, and I do it even when I'm not acting, is it's like what is the writer trying to say? Like, what's the overall message here, and what are they trying to communicate within the story? And then on a even a slightly smaller, more personal scale, it's like, what is my character? What is their psychology? What are they trying to do? What is it that what makes them tick? What's those? I mean, that to me is so exciting. Like I get, it carbonates me. It makes me so excited and happy to dig into that, because I like doing that in general. It's something that I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a specific process for doing that? Like, when you have a role, like in how you go about digging into their backstory and their psychology and their whys?
Yeah, some of those whys. It's unique. It's a little bit unique to each role. It's fun. One of the biggest things that I think is exciting is after answering some of those whys, some of the homework and some of the, like, what's their background, where they, all those kind of questions that one can answer. It's so fun and exciting to go on set or to be meeting with wardrobe and see. It's because, things like the clothes can affect so much how one moves and how that affects just some of those things like that. So I guess I'd have to say it's a little bit unique every single time, depending upon what the character, what is needed. And what they're going through. I get cast. If people don't know, I get cast so often in either highly like physical comedy type things, or in very dark, very gritty. The drug addicts, the loners, the really dark stuff. And I have to say, as an actor, I feel so blessed, because I am not bored. Like, I am so excited, and it's brilliantly fun. So
absolutely, that sounds fun. So this is kind of a loaded question, but everybody has different, like, expectations and goals and everything for themselves, especially from when you first start out to as you really learn about the industry and the craft and all of that. So have you progressed in your acting career as you maybe thought that you had expected to? And if not, why? Like, in what way?
No, not at all. I have not progressed in the acting career, thinking back to some of the starry-eyed 16-year-old, I want to be an actor. Not a bit. But in other ways, like probably more so than I would have thought possible, knowing a few more things and being a little bit wiser. Not totally sure how to explain this, but I'll try. I don't think I need to explain the starry-eyed thing. I think everybody knows, like, when you're in your teens, great, cool. So I have not achieved sort of that level of maybe celebrity that I kind of envisioned in my head at that point in time. But I have to acknowledge the fact that I very much realize that my home base is the Twin Cities, and that is a very unique to me thing in that I have been able to work, across the country in a lot of different projects. And I've really made the decision to live in the Twin Cities. And I don't need to go into all the whys behind all of that. Some of it's many things, but I think to achieve a certain level of celebrity, if you would, or something like that, like in the past, I do know that people needed to live in Hollywood or, in New York or something like that. So I guess I'm just trying to acknowledge the fact that it's like what I have achieved in my career. It's with the Twin Cities base, and knowing that, I actually feel I'm really proud of where I've come, even though it hasn't been to the echelons of celebrity. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I had a follow-up question on that. Just like, have you also done like theater too, or have you mainly stuck to on screen? Or?
I have done a fair amount of theater when I was younger. Like I had mentioned, I performed at the Guthrie doing some ensemble stuff with them in a couple of shows. I've also done work. I was working with the Minnesota Orchestra on some stuff. So I have been on the stages here in town slightly, but my passion really is film and performing in film. I remember auditioning actually here in town. The Theatre de la Jeune Lune, if people remember that. One of the directors, Dominique Sarand, I remember auditioning for him for a show once, and he looked at me and he's like, your pores just ooze film, like film actor. And I was like, that's not in this context, it's bad because you're casting a theater show. But yeah, I was like, you're reading me very accurately.
That backhanded compliment.
Yeah. But it's also a hard thing in some ways because I've been asked like do you prefer film or live shows, and I'm like, well, for me I do prefer film, but it's not necessarily asking. It's not an apples to apples question. It's a very apples to oranges question. It's each thing is so unique to the process, to the entire process for getting to A to Z is so different, and it's almost not the same thing at all. It's do you I don't know.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's all I got. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I've known you in a few different roles, Paul. I think you were also in Tuscaloosa, right?
That is correct. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
I thought I saw you in there. So Wilson, Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I have been really. I feel really blessed and fortunate. Just with some of the really fun character pieces that I've been able to do. I play Earl actually in Tuscaloosa. And it is I'd have to say actually that that would be one of those films that has so much, it says so much, and there's a depth to it that I so appreciate. The role of Earl, for anyone that is curious, Earl is I was going to say inmate, but he's not like an inmate. He's at a mental institute. And Tuscaloosa is set in 1972. And Earl is not the main character in Tuscaloosa whatsoever. He's kind of he's a side character. And something that I so appreciate about the director, Phil Harder is the director. I went into the audition and, I knew that I was auditioning for Earl. I was auditioning for several different roles, but Earl, there's something off with him. Obviously he's in a mental institute. The script didn't necessarily say what is going on with him, but he obviously has some mental things going on. And what I just loved about working with the director, and even though it's like not good directors, good writers, everybody, they take the time on with every role, even if it's not the main cast. But the process that we went through to kind of achieve Earl and stuff was just cool to me, because I was concerned just a smidge, because Earl, because you're dealing with the topic of someone that is mentally handicapped, it can go so comedic in a bad way fast, like and it's yeah, and I was just like, I don't want that, and I know that the director didn't want that, and I just had those concerns as a performer. I was just like, I want to be free as an actor to make mistakes and be. And, if I go too far, I basically was just really trusting Phil, because it was like, if this is too much, you're going to have to tell me, or if this is, it's just important to me not to be coming across that I am mocking or making a mockery of anyone. So it was so wonderful to, get on set, and Phil really, we didn't have it nailed down as far as like the things that I would like my physicality and some of the just how I would speak and all those things, and some of it happened like literally in the moment, but it was so wonderful as a performer, because Phil was like, Paul, I want you to feel free in this. I will help you. I will support you. And the support of just him and the crew on that, like I have to say, playing Earl in Tuscaloosa is one of my favorite roles.
There it is. Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
That answers my question. What have been your favorite roles?
Well done.
Yeah,
I led the question a bit, leading the witness a little bit here. But I remember you, Paul, also from like it was a short film by Todd Coberry a long time ago.
I love Todd. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, what was it? It was like a zombie flick or something, kind of.
Are you thinking of Eden? Eden with
yeah, that's it.
And I had bleached yellowish white crazy hair, and yeah, that was
yeah.
Yeah. That was a fun little
really
blast
cool
from the
film.
past.
Yeah.
Kind of going in that general direction, Paul. So if that was one of your favorite roles that you've ever done, do you have like a favorite genre or like a favorite type of role that you really enjoy? Like, do you love doing comedy more than drama, or if you've done a couple horror films, like, do you really prefer that? Like, what's your jam?
What's my jam
as a performer?
I as a performer, towards the beginning of my career and stuff, I really did what most actors do, which is it's like, I'll cast me and I'm open, I'm game. And Intermedio, like I said, it's one of the first things that I did, and it was a horror movie, and subsequently, I got cast in a lot more horror movies following that. For me personally, I love the characters in the horror movies, but I myself, I get squeamish, so I love the process that's involved in creating those. It's not like totally near and dear to my heart, like who I am as a person, but as a performer, they're really fun to make. I think for myself, like I find myself really probably inspired more by, I hate to say that this is boring. It's not boring. I just have this in my head that it's not the most exciting. But like a film that I have been inspired by and I really enjoy is called Hot Cuisine. And it stars, again, I have a crush on her, Catherine Frott, but it's the entire premise of the movie. It is basically, it's a story of Danielle, and I'm going to kill her last name, Delpou, I think she's French. But it's basically, it chronicles how she was appointed as the private chef of the president of France. And it's a foodie movie. People that like food, like it's very much deals with food and things like that. But it has a little bit of a memoir aspect to it. And yeah, it's a lovely piece. I don't know. It's an interesting question, but as far as like me as an actor and as a performer, I love the work that I have been doing, and I talk to other actors and other performers, and they're like, oh, I wish I was doing fill in the blank. And I have to get a little quiet because I'm like, I love what I'm doing. I love diving into Earl. I love playing, these villainous drug lord, crackhead, meth addict, like edgy pieces. I would have to say that one thing, I haven't done it as much, but it's something that I want to like take command of is I really enjoy physical comedy, and I've done a fair amount of it in like in the commercial world here in town. And I have done some comedy films, but I want to do more. Like I think there's a reason that I appreciate, Caitlin Olsen's work and stuff like that. I'm like, physical comedy is a blast, and I'd love to do more of it.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
More physical comedy. I think the Twin Cities, we could use more comedy, I think. Yeah.
And cast me, who's ever listening. So,
there you go.
Comedy. Let's bring it on.
Is that something you really want to do more now than ever? Like ever since, especially the shutdown. But is that something that's really calling to you right now?
I would say yes. I think that you're, in addition to having a love for that. Yes, just this past year and being locked up. Yes, and I don't know about YouTube, but I know for myself, like sometimes all the films that get all of the accolades and things, they usually are so deep, which is awesome. But there's a piece of me that loves It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and loves like some of the really raunchy body humor where it's like, dear God, like that's so far and crazy and fun and weird. And like, I'm like, yeah, people need to also laugh, So
we just need a version of It's Always Sunny for Minnesota, and then you'll be all set.
It's always
perfect.
Check the weather. That could be the name for our Minnesota version.
Just be like, it's really windy in Minnesota.
That would be awesome. Yeah, and I'm very excited.
Let's mix it up a little. Yeah. Snowing in April.
Yeah. I did there. It's always winter in December, or it's always winter in Minnesota could be the version.
It's true. It's very true.
Oh, that's funny.
So, Paul, you mentioned earlier a film coming up in Duluth. So is that like the big next project for you? Is that really what's next for you, or do you have more that's in your sights?
There are some more things that are in my sights. I think I'll just mention Abroad for ease of use. I'm really excited about Abroad. It is a bilingual mystery thriller. So I only know English, so I'm only speaking English, but a couple of the other actors are Korean. So they're going to be speaking in Korean and English, which I just think is a nice, it's cool. I don't know. To me, it's cool when it's there. I'm not even sure what they're going to do as far as like, I don't think they're even going to subtitle it. I don't know, but I don't know. That part excites me a little bit. I'm like, interesting. But the director Giovanni Fumu, who I mentioned, I'm not terribly, besties with him or anything, but I'm excited to be working with him. And I can't say too much because it is a mystery thriller,
right?
And there's even a little. My character is there's a little something, but I can't say it because otherwise it just ruins the fun. So I'm excited for it, and fast forward a year or however long it takes, and people will hopefully be excited to see it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta love a good mystery thriller.
It's a genre I haven't done a ton of work in, but I'm like, oh yeah, bring it on. Let's do more of this too. Yeah. Yeah, I've done so much. I've done a lot of horror movies, and I'm like, rock on, love them, bring them on. But mystery thriller is an interesting genre.
Yeah, I guess you have to kind of keep most of that under your hat. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
I wonder about those trailers sometimes. It's like you have to kind of sneak it in there one way, but
That's
still
where the
keep
editing
people.
really comes in.
That's
yeah.
it. That's it.
Yep.
Well, there's those. I think of the movie with Ashley Judd from way back in the day, way back, where Double Jeopardy. Have either of you seen it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
The movie trailer for that, you don't have to see the movie.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you every little thing, every little twist, every little turn. And I wish they wouldn't have, because I was like, actually, the movie was great. Like, I liked it. And it's like, had I not seen that trailer, this would have been the most amazing thing ever. But now, okay,
Yeah.
thanks. Yeah. But
Then you have like mystery kind of comedic types like Knives Out.
I was literally just thinking about that, Alan.
Yeah.
I was like, Paul's just getting prepared and getting this under his belt to be in the next Knives Out.
Yeah.
That's
One of
all.
the next two. Yeah.
boom,
Yes.
let's do it.
So good.
Yeah.
That is, yeah, let's do it. And
Well, Paul.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Where can people find your work or contact you?
Easiest place
Or how-
is just go to iampaulcram.com.
I like it. Awesome. So everyone that wants a really wants somebody new for their films, wants to work with Paul, iampaulcram.com. Contact him. It's going to be awesome. Paul, I have the biggest question yet for you.
Okay.
What do you want people to remember most about you?
Do you mean after listening to the podcast, or do you mean like when I die? And hopefully, which won't be at the end of
good
this
question.
podcast. And if it is at the end of this podcast, whoever has to clean up my belongings, know that foot-long size bag in my nightstand can just be burnt. You don't have to open it.
Oh, what a great question. Okay, so how about after, let's do a couple of layers of this. After people work with you, what do you want them to remember you by? And then maybe like after, like in 20 years, as you continue like building your body of work, like what do you really want people to remember you by?
Yeah, because we're talking like 20 years already now, right? So
Yeah. This is a great question, by the way. I'd really like people to remember that that I strive to help others, and that that for me, like I'll just mention this. Like I want people to remember that I strive to help, and I really tried to help other people along in their lives too, be it learning to read or things that like this, like acting. Like I want to help people, and that's what I hope that people remember when I'm gone. So that would be my answer to that. And yeah, after working on projects, I would hope that I'm remembered for doing good work that's inspiring. And yeah. That's interesting, because it's making me think a little bit about like a trajectory on like the roles and the stories and things like that, which I hope that people in the roles that I play, that be it comedy, physical comedy, drama, whatever, I hope that they can see the humanity of the characters, be they good, bad, whatever. That's my that would be what I hope people remember.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Well, Paul, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you both having me on and being willing to chat and stuff. This has been really nice.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for listening. This is Film in Minnesota. Catch you guys on the next one.